Welcome along to Tweet Street, Scotland Occupied, home of the satirical saltire. I'm Cinnamon Bridges, aka Peter. This is a special message for our newest co-host, Lucy, for our last true love. Happy birthday, wee man. You're 10 today. Hope you've had a cracking day. Welcome along to Tweet Street, Scotland Occupied, home of the satirical saltire. I'm Cinnamon Bridges, aka Peter. With me this evening is my usual co-host, it's JB Whitesnake. All right, John, how you going, buddy?
Not bad, Peter. How's yourself?
Aye, all right, mate, all right. Just try going with things as always. Everything okay at home, aye?
I just waiting for the storm to come like last night again, but it's as calm as a mill pond out there. But we're waiting for Hurricane Barnett to come in the door, but it's not come yet.
Well, we've had a wee taste of it already this evening. We got it last night with a wee taster of it this evening. Right, anyway, that's enough chat between us because we're here. We've got our guest here, mate. And it's a political special because we've got Robert Slavin here with us this evening, who's going to be running for council for the Alba party. Hi, Robert. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, not bad, Peter. Listen, same to you, John. Thanks very much for having me on. I'm delighted. I watch your podcast, and some really good stuff comes up in it. And I think that's the thing with not just your podcast, but you look at through a Scottish prism and the weekly review on the Scot News and that. But I mean, they're things that come up now on YouTube that people should be watching. If you want independence, you should be watching because you can pick up so much information on it. Aye. And the good thing about you guys as well, it's cross-party now. Even though I'm starting for Alba, I think we realise, the people on the ground realise that it's got to be unified. I mean, I'm not talking about the leadership from the SNP, because that's what it is. I'm not here to bash them. I'm here to work with them. But the thing is, the people on the ground certainly going all right. If you want independence, why are you bashing Alba, or why we Alba bash there? The grassroots members will get together. We will get together and we'll get it going. It's this leadership, the leadership, the SNP is holding this up.
Well, listen, you're not getting an argument for this guy.
I get that. But I think, Peter, I think that's the problem. I think Nicola Sturgeon, I think she was for independence, but I mean, it's took a lot. For me, on my road to Damascus was, I used to my dad found out before me. I go walking with my dad every day. I'll go walk with the dog, but he was very much before 2019, before the general election 2019. He's like, we're not getting independence for her. She doesn't want it. So I'm like, look, we need to make sure Brexit's over. I fell for the line. We need to make sure Brexit's overdone. We need to see what's over with Brexit, and then she's got something in the background. It's going to happen. Then it got the votes in the general 19, the election. I actually campaigned for Stephen Bonner. I like Stephen Bonner. He's actually a very nice guy. He's working class, gone well with him. I actually went out a campaign for him. And listen, he's one of those boys. See him in the pub, I'd like to have a pint with him. He's a decent enough guy. But we got him in. And then next thing, January 31st, 2020, the speech came down and wings of Scotland had in the head, the betrayer. I couldn't believe it. I mean, physically sick when I heard that. What a deflating the speech that was. And how did we accept it? I don't realise how we didn't really accept it, did we? I think that's why Alba came into being as well. Even at that time, we realised that we're not getting anywhere here. Well, a lot of people who are critical thinkers realise we're not going to get this. It's not going to come, not for Nicola Sturgeon, it's not, and not for the people that you see she's got within her inner circle. It's just not going to happen.
Aye, I mean,
I tell you, laugh. I was watching these with the Alba Youth on, and you were asked the question about, do you think 2023 is coming? We all know it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen.
I don't think that it's going to happen either. No, we're going to get into independence and the chat about independence in a wee minute, Robert. But I want to get into the character first of all, because you're a Republican. You're a fourth dan karate black belt. You've been a Republican for 21 years, did you say?
21 years, yeah.
21 years. Now, for me, that shows a bit of determination. The fact that you're a fourth dan black belt shows that you don't stop when you've reached a target. There's always another target that you can add on and tap it. And it shows a wee bit of determination that a lot of people don't seem to show anymore. What's been the highlight of your life up until the point that you're going to obviously be running and hopefully getting council? What's been the highlight for you?
For me, I can always go back to, it's like captain in Scotland, European Championships. For me, the last time I retired, I got my first cap for Scotland, well, under 21 cap in 1983. It was actually in Coatbridge. So it was like an under-21 team, a senior team, and a ladies team. We beat England. It was against Scotland against England. We beat them. What a night! The place was full. It was good. It was good. Right down to the wire. We actually like do a count back on the scores, and the good thing was Ticky Donovan. Like, everybody does karate knows Ticky Donovan, you know. So Hamish Adams was the Scottish coach, cracking guy. What a fighter he was as well. But Hamish, so we do a count back on like the scores because the fights will. Well, we won the under-21s. We won out of the park. The ladies won out of the park. But the senior team, the main guys, they fought and they got to a draw, like maybe 3 wins and 5 wins and this. So it go down to the points. And England thought they won, so they were cracking up. They were all jumping about. The team that came to the count back, Scotland won, and see that night, oh, the place was in uproar. It was fantastic. You always want to beat England. Listen, you fight, you compete for Scotland. You always want to beat England. And the same with England. England want to beat Scotland. You know, that's just the way it is. It's a friendly rivalry, but it's good. You know, brilliant to dig it. But for me, it was. Then I got my senior cap was in '88, and it was actually in Yugoslavia in a place called, it's not called it anymore, it's called Titograd. So, right. So Titograd's off the map now, you know, because when we were there in '88, May '88, you could just tell something was happening. I mean, see, like the hotel we were staying in was a cracking hotel, but see the place round about it, poverty, and see the amount of like at night. I mean, you're training for a competition, European champions. I mean, it was all the countries were there, so it was all full of athletes now. So all you were doing was walk about watching your weight and stuff. So you're not eating too much. The only thing you do is maybe go out and walk in the hotel. They wouldn't let you walk out the hotel because see at night they were just crowds gathering everywhere, and you could tell the militia know the coach. And lucky enough, I think it was a dinar at the time. When we got there on the Monday, I think you get it was something crazy like 5,000 dinar at the pound. See, by the time we were leaving, in the next Monday, it was something up to about 14,000 dinar. Just inflation was just getting through the roof. And then it wasn't shortly after that, that's when all the Balkans war started. You know, but you could kind of see it then. It was we actually the good thing. I was just making my way into the team, and I was in one of the reserves. Then I got put in for the last couple of fights, and we got to the fight off a bronze medal against Yugoslavia. Never seen anything like this before. I never witnessed it before again in my life. Was it? Before to fight Yugoslavia, Scots are fighting Yugoslavia. Next thing, there was about 3,000 people in the hall. But see, around the mat, there was like machine guns. The guys are standing with machine guns and that. And it's crazy, you know. But it was good. Something else, really good. That was brilliant. And then my last one, actually captained Scotland in Belgrade in '98. And that was, we got to the quarterfinals. Sweden beat us in the quarterfinals. I'm sure it was great team. The problem being is I'm not a tall guy, you know what I mean? So we were all about 5'7", 5'8", I think the tallest guy was about 5'9". Well, good heart, but you're fighting teams, no 6 foot, 6'2". But martial arts is supposed to be an equaliser anyway, but you always give it your heart, you know, getting there, fight with the head and the heart. You know,
again, it's the competition and willing to determined to win. John, you got a question for Robert?
Yeah, I'd like to congratulate Robert on his non-partisan attitude to independence, because I think that's very important and it's going to play a key part in that. So I really do appreciate that, because, again, political parties can get very tribal, and that might work in some ways, but it damages independence, the cause that we're all fighting for. So I think more sort of come by as has got to be a good thing, and people pushing for that. And if that's at grassroots and the leaders see that, then they've got to go the way it goes. I maybe still a wee bit of a blue sky thing. I think Sturgeon's got nowhere to go for 2020. She's got to come through in 2023. She can't get back again and say, oh, 2026. She can't get away with that. And I don't know how she thinks she can. So something's got to give. Something's got to, and again, I've seen bits there, and I think it's another thing maybe Alba should push, and other sort of like-minded people should push. So we don't have to go to cap in hand to Westminster it's in the Constitution, it's in the rights of it's in the United Nations article that people have the sovereign right to choose their own right. So we don't need permission for Westminster, we don't need permission from a Tory government or whoever. And I think that needs to get brought more to the front and centre. Would you agree with that?
Oh, I totally agree with you. And listen, see the blue skies, I'll be the first to clamp Nicola Sturgeon. If we get that, I'll be the first. I hope I'm proved wrong, but I don't think so.
Yeah.
You know, I really don't. I would love to be proven wrong, but there's no work being done for it. And the thing for me is, I mean, when you start listening to like podcasts, you start reading more on Twitter, and you pick all these, because they're very learned people giving up their time for nothing but just informing you. But when you look, there's been absolutely nothing. I think it was Alex Salmon saying the SNP have done nothing since 2014 to update the policies we were going to stand for independence then. The world's moved on. There's a lot more. Brexit's a big horse in the room, isn't it? But there's been nothing done. Absolutely nothing. And that freedom of information request, and again, like Roddy from Barhead Boy, when he turned around and just sunk home, Nicola Sturgeon does not allow debating independence at an SNP conference. She's never done it for about 4 or 5 years or something. I think she's never done it. Why is that? You know, if you're raising the issue as, you know, independence, you should be all your moves should be to getting us closer to that. No, we're not playing Westminster game or trying to be, you know, nice devolutionists. No, we should be independence. And what I do hate, and I've actually, you know, debating with folk, is that, oh, we want to make sure we're going to get it this time. All right, but you need to be in the fight to win it. You can't win it if you stand on the sidelines. You've got to win it. You know, and all this, we're just being fed, drip fed, and it's got to a stage. I agree with you. I think the good thing about the 2023 thing is Nicola Sturgeon hasn't anywhere to go, because I do believe if she doesn't get, you know, a referendum, she's going to go. Because even people I talk to, you know, SNP folk, I'm still very friendly with a lot of SNP people. You know, talk to them, they're giving her, no, give it to 2023, we're giving it. So, hey, listen, you put your hands up, well done, stay the course. But I'm a wee bit more thinking. I think a lot of people have just, when you add it up and you look, again, it's that great statement, isn't it? Deeds, not words. Show me your actions. Don't tell me, show me your actions. That's what I want. A barking dog doesn't bite.
Aye.
You know? Come on.
Well, talking about deeds, not words, there's something that's important to a lot of people in Scotland. Do you believe that a woman can have a penis, Robert?
Absolutely not. And I can't believe, hey, listen, I can't believe that the ones that do and claim that are claiming to be lesbians and why lesbians don't want to go. And my God, you know, where are we? Where are we here? I just don't get it, you know?
Aye.
I think there's, on that, the trans issues just blew up around the world, isn't it? It's just everywhere. I don't know. It's as if they're starting a bin fire, so we're all fighting against ourselves here over something, I don't want to say trivial, but it only affects a minority of the population. Whereas poverty, you know, inequality, racism, those kind of things that mainstream, and they affect a lot more people. I'm not saying trivialize, you know, the trans issue, but I think more learned people than me, listen, should be sitting down and talking, but nobody wants to talk about it. They want to shout at you. That's all they do. They want to shout at you.
Can I say, Rob, as well, and I've said this before, and I've said it for a while now, we're talking about that trans issue, which is a thorny issue for a lot of people, but it doesn't seem to be a thorny issue for the Tory party or the Labour party or the Liberal party. So why is it, I know the Scottish Government's in power, so why are they managing to neatly sidestep the debate and not catch any flack on it, where everyone else who is catching flack, but the parties don't understand how they're getting away with it?
Well, it's that old one, isn't it? Never interrupt your enemy when they're making a
mistake.
No, I mean, so why should they get involved? They can palm it to the side. The SNP and Greens they're embracing it. You got to ask yourself, why? What's going on here? We should be embracing independence and then tackling these issues. You know, when you're in an independent country, we're an independent country. We can tackle these issues. We don't have to. You know, why are we fighting this now without? We're sitting over scraps here when we should be getting the meat and the bone, getting ourselves independent, standing on 2 feet, get our own parliament, and whatever way that parliament looks, then we can diversify, get people from Civic Scotland, everybody in who it affects. I mean, because politicians don't know it all. You know, certainly, I think you need people from the whole of society. And I'm not talking about the ones that are government funded. I mean, that's a joke. That's what you call manufacturing consent. That's all that is. But I think you need to get a broad church, Holy Civic Scotland, sit down, talk about it, and then know where we can go for it, you know, and what way is going to be the best way out of this. I don't know enough about it. I certainly don't. But my own belief, no, I don't think. See, anybody wants to be it was, I think it was, who was it? Was it that Emily Pankhurst? I can't remember. She says, call them, but back in the day, they were transvestites. Now, to me, I'm like, I haven't heard that word for I don't know how long. But I think it just sums it up. See, if you're transitioning, you want, I don't get how you feel as if you want to be a woman, but you still want to keep the plumbing. I just don't get that. I don't get that at all. I have every empathy and every sympathy for somebody who feels trapped in, a male trapped in a female. Because let's be honest, guys, it seems to me it's just guys that are trapped in female bodies. So they don't want to be female. So for me, it's like, if you feel that way, I've every empathy for you, but why you still want to keep what's just really defines you as a man? It really does.
I mean, the fact that it's impacting on women's safety and women's safe spaces. We done a Not With My Child parent forum there in January, and one of the speakers, and it still sticks with me, Alan Petrie, talking about he cares for his granddaughter, who's disabled, and his worry is that, I mean, the thing that got me more than anything and really sticks in my throat is that he's got to provide all the proof of his granddaughter's disability and what her disablement is, and whereas somebody potentially self-IDing has to provide no proof whatsoever. It screams of danger to me, and safeguarding issues are being breached all over the place. I mean, there was another instance in the news over the past 24 hours of Police Scotland attending the founder of Brodie's Trust's house about a tweet to advise that they hadn't broken, they were there to investigate a hate crime, but it wasn't a hate crime. However, they wanted to find out what her thinking was.
The thought police, really, yeah.
Where are we? Where are we as a country when this is happening? Because all it's screaming to me is, how did 1930s Germany start? Because I wasn't there, but I can imagine it'll be some shit like this.
Yeah, I mean, how can the police be wasting their time like that? What, to find out how somebody's thinking? You know,
and yet their English colleagues are not getting it down the street with the parties all over the place. You know, they can't investigate retrospective. Oh, come on.
Okay, no, but I mean, when I read that, I mean, I'm just incredulous. You know, I mean, sending somebody around for that, but it shows you that it's not even pennies. You just think to yourself, what are you doing? You know, I mean, that should be dismissed. I mean, I'm sure the police have got plenty of other things to do. You know, I'm sure there are plenty of other crimes they can go and investigate.
There's been a follow up to that from. Let me just check who it was from. I'll tell you. Fair Play for Women have Police Scotland should withdraw its statement. Any kind of discrimination is deplorable and entirely unacceptable, making clear that discrimination on the grounds of sex can indeed be lawful and wholly necessary and appropriate in some circumstances. They have launched a complaint with the Equality Watchdog because they feel that the law has been misrepresented by Police Scotland. And the fact that you've got police misrepresenting the law, again, leaves us in a very, very dangerous place as far as I'm concerned. When they're used as the personal bodyguard of somebody who's trying to implement a bill that is opposed by up to 80% of the electorate in Scotland, it screams of danger.
It's not just that. I mean, listen, God help any SNP activists come around the door, champing the door, especially locally wise, and try to sell that. I don't know how they're going to do it. But listen, the area I'm going to be standing in, I've lived here all my days, very working class. They haven't got those liberal views. No, they're working class people. You know, they know right from wrong. I mean, they're going to go, wait a minute, Mike, no, what's happening here? What you trying to sell me? You know, you're trying to sell me a pup here. That's what you're trying to do. Because I just don't get it. I don't get why we're tied up on this, and independence. They're screaming out for independence, but we're tied up on this. You know, why is it? Is it someone putting the buffers? As I say, I've got every empathy, every sympathy for somebody who feels as if they're trapped in like a female body or a male body, and they need help with everything. But I think there's routes to go down, isn't there? You know what I mean? I think that they've got to go and there's people who can talk to them, psychologists, and they've got to evaluate it before they take them further. This comes in when it's just going to be self-ID. You know, it's just going to be, that's just, everything's out the window. I mean, let's be honest. See if you commit a crime, a hefty crime, you're going to like, what do you want to spend? You want to be in the guy's jail, you want to be in the women's jail. Easy to go like, hey, listen, I feel like a woman, no. And they put women in the jail. It's bad enough they're in the jail, but they've got to be a predator. 100%.
Aye. I totally agree. That's my thoughts as well.
On your point there as well about the police wasting time, I mean, I think they're going to be called out on it every turn. You know, that's got to be highlighted and called out at every turn. We can't have this. You know, I mean, we're always saying we haven't got enough funding for police, and the police do enough hard enough job. But listen, there's other things they could be going to do and going to do that, champing somebody's door. It's like when they've done it with the ribbons and people put stickers. And, oh, come on, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Right. The other thing I would like to ask you is, obviously there's been an anti-protest bill that's been going through Westminster, or they're trying to pass it through Westminster. Again, it shows that, and John and I have said this on numerous occasions, that we're approaching a totalitarian state or a fascist state from Westminster. And I don't know if that's emboldening some of the big wigs at the SNP, because these things aren't that far apart, what Westminster are doing, and the fact that there's no you can't peacefully protest outside Holyrood. So we want to be best positioned to be looking after ourselves, rather than, oh, well, it's okay, that doesn't affect me at this point.
Yep.
Because you'll get to a stage where it's too late. It affects everybody. What's your thoughts on the situation with the anti-protest at Holyrood?
I think it's legitimate. I think, well, them actually putting we can't protest at Holyrood, it's an absolute disgrace. I don't think the Parliament was ever set up for that. I don't think when the Parliament was set up that would ever have been considered. But because Nicola Sturgeon's getting a bit of flack, this thing's get passed through, so you can't protest anymore. It's a civic right. You got a peaceful protest, a civic right. Come on, and it looks terrible. It really looks terrible. And I don't think there's enough of the public realise what's happening. As you say, we're sleepwalking. They're sleepwalking, but I can't go up there and show my disdain when policies are getting passed that I don't agree with. You know, and the SNP seem to be wanting passing policies that 78% of the people they're not happy with. They don't want that. And Nicola Sturgeon saying the vote for last year was a vote for the GRA. No, it wasn't. You know what I'm saying? And they vote for independence. And the only reason I voted at the SNP that time was because Alex Salmon, being the bigger man, came out and says, like, no, SNP won, Alba 2. You know what I mean? Top strategist. But again, I think the next time round, hopefully it'll be sooner than that, but I think the next time round we'll make sure that the public's a lot more alert to that. You know why? You can't give SNP your sitting with both votes. Wasted. Million votes wasted. Wasted.
Again, you know what I mean?
Well, I always heard Tommy Sheridan. I must have watched that one of Tommy Sheridan's videos a good few years ago. Wasn't it that? It must have been the 2015 Holyrood elections. I can't remember, but he was saying that he's like, well, it's a wasted vote, and they were all shouting him down. But he's right, 100% right. You're a wasted vote. You know, you're letting in Labour and the Lib Dems and the Tories. You know what I mean? People that are voting for SNP 1 and 2 don't want them, and I don't think they do. Not the grassroots one anyway.
Aye.
They certainly don't want that.
Aye, John, you got a question for Robert?
Aye, so with the local elections coming up in May, so what's your sort of hopes for that and where it goes after that?
Well, I'm hoping that because I've got a bit of presence in the community, where I've been brought up here, live here, my family lives here, my business is here, and I teach karate here, and so I'm well known, I'm well kept face in the area, and people know me for what I'm. They know I'm an approachable guy, I'm fair-minded. I'm not I don't think I'm better than anybody, all that kind of stuff, hard-working guy. And I've got all the same principles that they've had, what my dad instilled into me. So you're just hoping for me that people will trust me enough to give me the vote. And when I get around the doors, and I really am, I'm thankful for the amount of people that's get in touch and they're going to help me come around the doors. I mean, a big lot. And I'm hoping to get a few of them into the Alba party and get them recruited. But there's definitely been a few. Listen, so the guys at the pub have been fantastic. But once I go on the doorsteps and I start telling them about the Alba policies, you know what I mean? They're middle to the left, socialist policies. Alex Salmon, if you look at the policies being passed with the SNP, the ones that the SNP all crow about, everything was done under Alexander's tenure, apart from the baby boxes and the feminine hygiene. Apart from that, all the other progressive policies, Alex Salmon was at the tenure, and people don't say that, they just put it up there. So yeah. I think once we get around the doors and once we can start talking, because listen, I'll probably know most of them and start chatting the doors the area I'm in, so I'll probably know them. But once I talk to them, have a wee, and explain what's going on, what's happening, hopefully they'll give them a vote. If they want to vote SNP first, I hope they give me their second vote. As long as it's independence party they're voting for, I'll be more than happy. You know, but what I'm hoping for, the big hope, John, is that for after the count, I'm hoping that the people will trust me enough to give me their vote. And what I'm hoping for is that Alba can get in there and we can start making good moves, because Alba wants independence. We want to make Scotland better. We don't want to sit in platitudes. We don't want to play the Westminster game. We don't want to sit in there. I mean, seeing you see Stuart McDonald and Alan, what's his name? Smith, the Brow. When you see them going to MI5, no talking points, coming back, trying to tell you, and we've dropped the nuclear arms, no for a multi-lamp. Yeah, come on, you know what I mean? It's just there's something no right. There's something no right, you know.
Talking about something no right, Robert. Obviously, John and I like to have a wee bash at the Tories, right? Because the Tories are
easy
swear words, right? Now, what do you make of the situation of the Partygate, the investigation, and now the potential that we could have a wartime PM?
Oh. Listen, the wartime PM is, if you notice, the rhetoric coming out against Ukraine is Biden and Johnson, and the reason being the two of them are plummeting in the polls. The only reason they're pushing that is the Hawks. Germany's not wanting anything to do with it. Ukraine's actually come out and said, come on, it's not as bad as we're trying to take out here, you know? So what they're doing is they're trying to make it front and centre of them as that, no, it's the old gung-ho thing, you know what I mean? Make it noise, cause a distraction, take it away from their failings, because Biden, I mean, I watch a lot of American YouTube, politics guys. I love it, because you know what happens over there? We get it over here. And I feel as if, like, in America, they've got a duopoly, the Dems or the Republicans or the Democrats. And here they want to hear Tories and Labour. They don't want anybody else. And it's getting that way in Scotland. Independence and then every other party. So you're binary, you're trying to fight against one another. Whereas we know that we come together, there's more folk, wanting socialist policies in Scotland, especially, you know what I mean? But down there, Bojo, he's untouchable. He doesn't care.
Aye, and that's the way it's coming across.
I think a lot of folk are forgetting as well like what's happened with Brexit, because a lot of money that financed Brexit came from Russian donors. So this is going in swings and roundabouts here. It's all, if you join the dots, you can see where it all went. Russian money came into London. It's still, they were even talking about it last week, saying there's that much Russian money floating about London in the property market. There's billions down there. And it's all came from Russia, Russian oligarchs, who are now, some of them are in the House of Lords. So it's farcical for Boris Johnson to try and pay. But again, he's a chancer. He sees an opportunity. He knows he's got a media that's not going to put him in the spot and say, wait a minute, this money, it's put £2 million for Russia going to the Conservative Party. Nobody's going to put him on the line and challenge him on that. So they're going to use this Russia Gate thing to let him off the hook for the Partygate thing. It's just a scam. And now you get Cressida the Dick basically screwing up the Sue Gray report, and the person that's overseeing, or what's meant to be is looking over Cressida Dick is, believe it or not, someone she appointed, and it's her own partner. I mean, that's just, it couldn't get any more twisted and sick. And
John,
it could.
John, you realise?
Sorry, it could. It's Westminster. What am I talking about here?
Well, I've got a wee bit of evidence to show that it could get a wee bit worse. Right. Just to add on to that, John, what you were saying. Do you know of Joan Bakewell, the Labour peer, broadcaster, journalist, and novelist, president of Birkbeck, twice BAFTA winner, co-chair at APPG Humanist, and Knight in Ayton Management? She tweeted earlier today that 700 Russian millionaires given fast-track visas to live in this country. Why? Now, just off the back of your Brexit thing that you were saying there, John, we know that the Brexit was bought and financed by Russian oligarchs, so to speak, and one of them was then given the peerage in the House of Lords. Is this the potential? Okay, we'll put these ones over here. We'll have a short exchange of fire. We'll then get two wartime Prime Minister and President in America that they'll be the greatest things since sliced bread, and a way to manipulate terror in people is how I see it. What's your thoughts on that, Robert, if that's confirmed?
Listen, I wouldn't bet against it not being confirmed. I mean, anything can go down there the way it is. I mean, let's put this, everybody says Boris is stupid. Boris isn't stupid. You don't get to that position being stupid. He plays the fool very well. That man, he's shrewd. But he's got people working on him. I mean, that guy that made the Russian boy that made the peer, Was that not him? It was his dad's. That's the party he went to.
The Bunga Bunga party.
That's the Bunga he went to that. So
Yevgeny, oh, I can't remember his surname. Yevgeny, something or other.
Yeah, I can't remember. I know that he had to do it, and he dismissed his entourage, and he just went there himself. I mean, where have they got on Boris? I mean, where have they got? I mean, he's got 6 wins. Enemy. He can have feast information on Boris. But I still stand by the fact that he's not stupid. He's a shrewd man.
No, he's very shrewd.
Yeah, I think the actress, and I'll murder her name here, Miriam McGorlis, whatever her name is.
Miriam Margolyes.
The very one. She had the comment out that there was a coup, Brexit was a coup. That was something like that. That was what it was. And basically said it was a silent one. They got away with it. And Boris is a product. He's put in to do a specific job at a specific time and deliver that, and then he'll move on when the time's right. So you're right. He's not an idiot. He's not a fool. He's a product, and he's placed there. And they'll look back in years' time and see what he delivered for them. It's moving the agenda so far to the right, taking away rights and everything else of working class men, that it'll be a hero for them in 20, 30 years' time for how far they manage to push the political agenda in their favour against the working class.
Robert, just pause for a wee second there. I'm going to show you a video clip now, right? And then we'll discuss the contents of the video clip once we've seen it, all right? We'll just pause for a wee second, buddy. Share the screen. I'll share the sound, John. Remember, mate, share the sound, mate. I always forget.
Go there, boy. Come on now.
I always forget to do that, Robert. Share the sound before playing.
There we go.
And
I don't mind. I think my theory is I've got a brilliant new strategy, which is to make so many gaffes that nobody knows which one to concentrate on.
So they cease to be newsworthy.
They cease to be newsworthy. You completely outgeneral the media in that way, and they despair. They despair, and so what you do, they leave you alone. You shell them, you pepper the media. What you do is you got to pepper their positions with so many gaffes that they're confused. It's like chaff, it's like a helicopter throwing out chaff. And then you steal on quietly and drop your depth charges wherever you want to drop them.
so, what do you think of that then, Robert?
I've seen.
I think it just backs up my assumption. He's a shrewd man. He knows what he's doing. He knows he's just throwing out, as he says, chum in the water. And we're all biting for it, all this stupid thing. You know, all of it, he's illegitimate kids, and just Boris the buffoon. Even do you not see the video of him? He's dancing with that woman. He's got the sword, and we're all looking at it, all laughing. But in the background, he's dropped his death cash. He's all right. He's got the policies in place, and he's got the people behind him that are doing it. They're manoeuvring them. You know, definitely.
John, what's your thoughts on it, mate?
Yeah, well, there's nothing surprising me. As you can see, he's an idiot. He acts the idiot, plays the idiot, but it's your old classic, perceived as one thing but delivering another. He plays the fool, but he's a very shrewd man, as Robert says, and it's frightening how much they're pushing the political agenda in their fashion, and people are falling for it, we say, and if people are naive, people let them get away with it because they don't care, or they're naive to what's going on, and they're more interested in gambling, football, drink, drugs, whatever. As long as they've got that, they're apathetic, and the political class can get away with what they want.
I think it's modern day bread and circuses, John. That's what it is. You know, they're getting us interested in either be the boxing or the football, or they get the gambling going on. You know, and what they're doing now is it affects me. Is that, and you see it more and more. Listen, the amount of guys I know that'll get their own bars out the back now. So they're sitting back. You're not getting in a community anymore. You know, you're only coming together now and then. Whereas the pub was a hub for the community where you discuss things. You got to know all the gossip. But now, no, the one you in the house, just obedient. You're kind of so just be obedient. There you are. Sitting there, drink in there and watch what we're telling you to watch. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know, so
I don't disagree. I mean, there's been an attempt to pass a bill for extra lockdown powers in the Scottish Parliament of late. What's your thoughts on that, Robert?
Well, I couldn't believe I was reading. I just read it tonight. Some of the tweets that they want to keep the special powers, you know, the executive powers that they got through. Why do they want to keep that? There's no pandemic. Well, we're coming out at the end of it now, you know. So why? We've got to go back, you know, to the liberties we had, rather than they can just enforce it at the drop of a hat. Listen, after the protest at Holyrood, we can't protest there. Where does it stop? You know, And I'll come back to John. I meant to say to you about your topic, Crescenda Dick and her partner. No, on top of her, he's looking. Listen, partners don't talk about things like that. Do you not know that?
I
You know, if
will.
you're a partner, they don't talk about things like that. They don't discuss it.
Aye.
What about the dinner? What you have make for the dinner tonight there? Aye,
Don't know. There's a couple of magpies outside right
exactly.
now.
I can see it flying away. Oh, jeez, man, how could anybody ever believe that? You know.
Again, whoever believes that, I've got a bridge to sell you. All right.
A cinnamon bridge.
Aye, cinnamon bridges. Aye, that's it. Right now, coming back to you. Let's. You play the guitar.
I do indeed. Not very well, but I play it. Yeah.
Right. So.
Stairway to heaven now, is it?
Listen, the guy I play with, he can play anything. He's fantastic. You know, I put my hands up to anybody who plays a musical instrument, see then they can play it well. It's when you're sitting in the company with them, you're like, oh, that's fantastic.
Well, I totally agree, right? Because I can't play an instrument. I've tried the guitar several times. See, I'm one of these Cllr Honda people, right? So I need to play it the other way, and I just can't do it. I can't do it right Honda either. I can't do it the right way, but I've tried and tried and tried because I would love to be able to play an instrument.
The thing is, Peter, you can just practice. It doesn't matter. Well, practice. That's all it is.
I don't know. My practice used to get to, oh no, I can't do this. Oh, it's broke. Right.
You're starting off with a defeatist attitude. You've got to end it. I'm going to smash this. I'm going to do this. You know, you start one chord at a time and you'll be in there.
I've got wee horns, mate. I think it's just my wee horns. I just can't do it. Anyway, excuses.
That means you're not self-conscious. You're all right.
I don't mind attempting to sing. I know that I can sing, but I don't mind attempting. If there's a karaoke on and somebody says, "Oh, you want to go and sing?" I keep the mic. I'll have a shot of that. But try to put music to something, it frustrates the life out of me.
Sometimes I've got to present the karaoke in the pub as well. Listen, see, like Chief Cook and Bottle Washer. I read a book years ago, and I think it was Alex Ferguson when he took over Aberdeen, and I think he was up there and he bought a pub and it was a restaurant. So what he done, somebody wrote, I can't talk about it, but Alex Ferguson went and found out how everything worked, how to cook the dinners, how to do it. And that's it. And it kind of stopped with when you do need to know in the pub, I want to know if anything goes wrong, that I've got a solution for it. You know what I mean? So sometimes somebody can't turn up to do the karaoke. I know how to work the system. I'll go up and do a bit and I'll play. So it does, you just got to try. Put more strings to your bow, shall we say? I'm not going to say I'm a good singer, but I can hold a tune. You know what I mean?
Good. Well, as soon as you've said that, when you go, mate. No singing. Coming back to Coatbridge, where you're going to be running for council. Where does your Coatbridge ward start and end? What's the full ward that you're going to be running?
I'm going to go for the area I live in. It's Kirkwood, Kirkshaws, Old Monkland, Bargady, and Langloan. So there's a big area, and there's a lot of people in there, you know. And then now we've got 2 Labour councillors and a SNP councillor, Caroline Stephen. I like Caroline going well with, you know. So the thing is, I'm not going to degrade the last year, no talk bad about it or anything like that. As I say, for me, I want to make sure no independents get in. It'd be lovely if the 2 years get in. See if the 2 years get in, that'd be displace one of the Labour ones. Fantastic. That would do me. You know what I mean? I'd be more than happy with that. But I'll go out there. I'm lucky, guys, that I have got that kind of profile. I've been in the pub 21 years, but they'll know see the name outside the door and that. So it's kind of when I go round the doors, doing the leaflets and that, people know who I am. They know kind of guy I am, you know, because I've been there long enough, so they know I'm not somebody doesn't know what they're talking about, or somebody's going to promise me something I can't deliver. I'm not that type of person, you know. I'm not that type of person. It
sounds good to me. I know the Coatbridge area. I know I've frequented a couple of places.
Did you do the driving school? Is that?
No driving school. I was a driving examiner. So I used to occasionally work out of the Airdrie driving test centre.
Aye, that's where I passed my test up there.
Was it, mate? Aye.
Many moons ago, but it was up near you.
Aye, good.
You know, I don't know if you've ever watched, guys, Bruce Fumi, the boy for he does History Tour Scotland. Should listen. A wee plug for the guy. He was up Airdrie. His last time's up Airdrie. He was just about the Highland clearances, but this was a Lowland one. And it was funny because I used to work near. I worked with the council. I'm a plumber. So I was a plumber with the council for 23 years before. Well, I was still working with the council for 4 years when I first got the pub, and then got a few other pubs that to wrap in the plumbing, and wasn't a hard thing to do. By the way, I was glad to see the back here. But listen, need tools, man. Like, going, here we go, about to throw them in the burn, not down the canal. But it was funny enough. I hadn't been up there for a while, and it was funny to see him down there doing that a wee documentary. His stuff's brilliant. A wee Bruce Fumi, Scotland History Tour is brilliant.
I'll have a wee look into it.
He does 15-minute segments and it's really informative. It's like Clem Fandango. See that on Twitter? Love him, man. See his stuff.
Oh, brilliant, mate.
I've learned more from these guys than I ever did know at school or anything with Scottish history. What a rich history we've got, you know, and you don't hear it.
You don't hear enough. I totally agree with that, Robert.
Ken McCaskill's book. I'm wanting to buy it. No, the one about the 1815. What was it again?
Oh, I've seen it advertised actually. I've not actually looked into it. I've seen it advertised.
I can't remember what it was called, but I always meant to get it and read it. I'm actually sitting here because I seen your man on your show. That's how I got it, Campbell Martin.
All right, aye. Have you read it?
I read it. Aye, good. Enjoyed it.
Aye, enjoy it. What was your highlight of the book?
Really, how much disappointed, dismayed John Swinney. Really, I just really, and I'd love to. I know he's told you, but I'd love to find out who the guy he knows that embedded in of the MI5. Listen, the thing is for me and anybody, you used to be called like you get a tinfoil hat on, no thinking the MI5. There's spooks everywhere. Wait a minute, the top echelons of the IRA. No, come on. You know what I mean? If you want to get in there, you'll get anywhere. You know,
aye.
Especially a political party, no problem.
Aye, it's the 50th anniversary, the Bloody Sunday today, so commemorations to the people that lost their lives there at the behest of the British state. I was watching on a wee clip on Sky News earlier today. They were covering it, and somebody started speaking, and I said to the wife, I was like, we're going to cut this now because he didn't mention the name of Soldier F, but he mentioned Soldier F, and then he went on to start talking about John Kelly, who had named him on Twitter, who was the brother of one of the people that died. And I said to him, they're going to cut this feed right now. And then the next thing is, sure as shit, they cut the feed. And the wife is what? The wife's getting into kind of a politics. You know that she's getting into it. She hates it, right? But she's getting more involved in the conversations that I'm having because of what we're seeing. And she asked why, and I was like, well, they can't have people telling the truth that's different from the truth that they've already sold people. So they'll cut the feed. And that's exactly what they do. I mean, I've noticed that when you've got people on the BBC, there was one, in the lead up to the elections there was a Scottish chap on Colin, his name was, I put a search for him on Twitter, can I get you on the podcast? Because he'd said about the empire and he's have colonised Scotland and it's all pejorative language and what have you. And that's the first time I've cheered in the BBC since the Scotland game was on.
You go, brilliant.
But it goes to show you like how much control the media companies, and obviously they'll be getting contributions for people, and they'll be making contributions to people to try and kingmaker, so to speak. And it's just slavery. It's just to keep the slaves going to work, because all they talk about is the economy. The economy this, the economy that, the economy this. They fucked the economy with Brexit.
It's done.
You know what I mean? So they're trying to pass it off as, it's the pandemic. £37 billion for a test and trace. My fucking arse, my backside. Sorry, I'll cut that out. My backside. So, I mean, it goes to show that there are people waking up to it, Robert. I believe there are people waking up to it. John's been essential in waking people up to it, because every poster that he puts out is pretty much a slating the BBC, the media, all the things that are getting said, Westminster, and the tricks that they play. I've noticed that people are waking up to it. Is this something that, when you're on the doorstep, do you think that you'll get asked about Westminster, or do you think your majority of things you'll be getting asked about will be Holyrood?
I think it'll be more local. About here tonight, it'll be more local issues. What are you going to do for me? You're going to fix this. You're going to make sure the streets are clean. You're going to make sure these potholes are fixed. Basic stuff, but that's what makes the community run. You know, and what gets me as well is, like, I do a lot of walking. I go out a lot of the Greenbelt area. and the kids are down there, they're drinking because they're not getting anything else to do. They've shut down, all the community centres are shut down, they're all gone, you know what I mean? But what are these kids supposed to do? And they're fed up with computers and anything else. And there's some amount of like dance schools, people start up dance schools, martial arts schools, they've nowhere to go. They're trying to find places, and they get dead like. But there's a library just down, just across my brother's. These are just down, not Cozine, it's just down the road from his enemy, the community centre, above the community centre, the old library, Kirkwood Library. It's lying empty. Now there's a school called Shining Stars theatre group for disadvantaged kids. You know what I mean, special needs kids. They would love that. They would, and it's got a ramp up to it. It's got everything. Yeah, they won't let them use it. They won't. You're going, come on. They're sitting there doing nothing anyway. So it's things like that. I think no, we've got to make sure we get people engaged. No, I think there's a certain apathy. My point being, when I'm going walking and there's people going walk the dogs, a lovely walk, but it's full of bottles, full of glass. There's no bins. There's nothing. You're going, oh, come on, this could be lovely. This could be this done right, you know. And I would like to trust the kids and think, even though they're down there drinking, they shouldn't be drinking. I'd like to think if there's bins there, they'd put them there. The thing is, it's just, I don't do this. But if there's something there, I think they would listen, you know. It would take a while to get through them, but I think they would.
No, I think, I mean, I totally agree that there's no community activities anymore, which means that people don't know one another. They've got maybe pride in their own house, they've pride in their own garden, pride in their own car, but they don't have pride for their own area. As a result of, well, we've not got anything to be proud of to an extent. We've not got a community hall. I mean, I know I had it not too long ago where you used to go away like day trips and what have you with the community centre, and on the summer holidays for the kids that weren't able to be taken abroad or taken away to a haven or anything like that. You used to have community centres that you would go up and you'd maybe pay £1 or £2. Obviously the price would go up nowadays. But that was you paid your £1 or £2, you were in there, you had the five-a-sides, you had boxing rings, you had weights. Then what they would do is they would put on like a trip, an excursion where they would maybe take you to the zoo. I don't agree with zoos, by the way. I don't think animals should be caged, but that's just my thoughts on it. But things like that, places of interest. I mean, Summerlee's a great place next to you. I've been there a couple of times with my kids. Well, I've been for myself because I like that kind of stuff. I mean, but I've taken them along.
It's really good. See, anybody comes to visit. No, for me, I've got family in Australia. Anybody coming in, always go up to Summerlee because it could be it's an afternoon getting a donation and just going to get a cup of coffee or something like that as well. It's a lovely place. It's really, really well done. You know, it gets you throw back to the industrial age, you know, which was Coatbridge was founded on. It was the iron borough, wasn't it? You know what I mean? So that's what we were, you know, and yeah. But I just think, you know, like what you're saying is, and that's I'm going to come back for a Guy Alba push here, but I mean that one of the policies is, you know, children and under 18s getting free access to, you know, to gymnasiums and, you know, fitness centres, you know, make it free of charge. Why not? You know, get them together. Because I think what you're saying that people, there isn't that social element. We were all younger, all running about. You got to know one another. But see, when you're on like, kids and that on Facebook or Twitter or TikTok, you don't get the same feel physically because you know yourself on Twitter. You can pick somebody up all the wrong way when you're talking to them. You maybe think they're being argumentative, but they're not. No, but it's different when you're face to face. You can judge their mood. You can see how their body language is. But on Twitter, it's just one dimensional, isn't it? So you don't read people right. And for me, I'm starting to go like, I need to step back here and just talk to people just as if, right, okay, you know, that's it. What I want, do you know what I want to do now as well? People come on, it's like, I'm really fed up. See these folk on Twitter that just get an avatar. They've not got their name. They've not got anything where they're hiding behind something and they want to throw bombs in. No, I'm sorry. You know what I mean? That's not, if you can't show your face and make your point, then you haven't got a point to make, really. I don't think you have, you know. Stand by it, put your face to it.
I agree, and I think a lot of people, I'm not thinking for a lot of people, the common consensus that you read is that people are scared to put their face to things because of instances like we spoke about earlier, where the police rock up at their house. I mean, because they've said something on Twitter, right? So there's the safety element. But if everybody is registered either one way or another officially through a site, then they can have an avatar that they would fall back on how they've registered their email address or their official registration. But I think that would make it. I think it would make social media safer. Is my honest thoughts,
No,
because you wouldn't have these trolls on.
No,
that couldn't be
the
traced.
bots, you know what I mean?
Yes.
You know, you get the bots and the trolls. And no, and there is, I mean, listen, there's legitimate people out there, no, they're party communities and they've got their avatar and they're speaking for them. Fine, you know, but it's the ones that, there was like guy the other day there, oh, I can't even remember, and he said, I'm like going, wait a minute, mate, you're tuned to the moon, you know what I mean? Some of the things that he's saying, talking about Alba, I'm not putting my face here, he says, because guys like you'll come up and put shit through my door, and I'm going, oh, no, take a chill pill, mate, you know what I mean? Have a cup of tea, sit back, you know.
Aye, I think there's agitators, obviously, and to try and influence people in the wrong way. I mean, obviously, social media influencing is a big thing. Influencers. That reads a lot easier than it speaks. Influencers. If they're paid to say something, they'll say it, whether they believe it or whether they don't believe it. They're financed to do that, and it's the same with these bad faith actors that you get reporting the news. I mean, there was an instance the day the lassie's reading obviously the auto cue, and that's what she's paid to do.
Yeah.
Somebody came back with a question about what she read on the auto cue, and she couldn't answer them, right? Because all she was doing was reading the auto cue.
Aye.
She didn't know about the issue that she was talking about. But somebody came back, and I thought, right, okay, but it just goes to show me how blatantly obvious. Well, wait a minute. These people might be nice and friendly, and they're like, oh, a smiley on the screen and read the news there, but they know F all about it because they're only paid to read the news. Like, I mean, I'm paid to do my job. I'm paid to, I do the bit that I'm paid to do. If somebody comes and says, well, what about that part? Well, wait a minute. That's not my part. This is my job. All right, so you want me to learn that myself? Pay me. No, I'm not paying you. Well, I'll read the auto cue then, so to speak. You know what I mean? And this is what you see getting broadcast into people's living rooms. It's one of those things that a bugbear. Right, coming back to you.
Okay, no, carry on then.
No, you go. I'll let you speak first.
Just on that point, I don't know if there's a cracking clip with Noam Chomsky with Mar on the Sunday talking about manufacturing consent. And he caught him, and for anybody, go and have a look at that, because it just explains what you're saying about newscasters and the news media. They manufacture consent, they make the talking point, big it up, put it out there, and next time everybody's talking about it when it's irrelevant, really. You know what I mean? It's irrelevant.
Aye. Well, what I'll do is I'll actually cut that wee clip through this when I'm doing the edit, right?
Is a censoring organisation. Tell me how that works. You're not suggesting that proprietors phone one another up, or that many journalists get their copies spiked, as we say?
It's actually, Orwell, you may recall, has an essay called Literary Censorship in England, which was supposed to be the introduction to Animal Farm, except that it never appeared, in which he points out, look, I'm writing about a totalitarian society, but in free democratic England, it's not all that different. And then he says unpopular ideas can be silenced without any force. And then he gives a two-sentence response, which is not very profound, but captures it. He says two reasons. First, the press is owned by wealthy men who have every interest in not having certain things appear. But second, the whole educational system, from the beginning on through, just gets you to understand that there are certain things you just don't say. Well, spelling these things out, that's perfectly correct. I mean, it's the first sentence is what we expand on.
This is what I don't get, because it suggests that, I mean, I'm a joke, people like me are self-censoring.
No, not self-censoring. There's a filtering system that starts in kindergarten. It goes all the way through. And it doesn't work 100%, but it's pretty effective. It selects for obedience and subordination. And especially, I think that
so stroppy people won't make it to positions of influence.
Behavior problems, or if you read applications to a graduate school, you see that people will tell you he's not doesn't get along too well with his colleagues. You know how to interpret those things.
I'm just interested in this because I was brought up, like a lot of people, probably post the Watergate film and so on, to believe that journalism was a crusading craft, and that there were a lot of disputatious, stroppy, difficult people in journalism. And I have to say, I think I know some of them.
Well, I know some of the best and best-known investigative reporters in the United States. I won't mention names because I don't want to whose attitude toward the media is much more cynical than mine. In fact, they regard the media as a sham, and they know and they consciously talk about how they try to play it like a violin. If they see a little opening, they'll try to squeeze something in that ordinarily wouldn't make it through. And it's perfectly true that I'm sure you're speaking for the majority of journalists who are trained, have it driven into their heads that this is a crusading profession, adversarial, we stand up against power, a very self-serving view. On the other hand, in my opinion, I hate to make a value judgment, but the better journalists, and in fact the ones who are often regarded as the best journalists, have quite a different picture, and I think a very realistic one.
How can you know that I'm self-censoring? How can you
I
know
don't say
that
you're
journalists
self-censoring. I'm sure you believe everything you're saying. But what I'm saying is if you believe something different, you wouldn't be sitting where you're sitting.
As soon as you've mentioned that. John,
Show a short clip, it's well worth seeing.
Aye, I'll cut it through when I'm doing the edit, mate. John, have you got a question for Robert? Because we're nearly...
No, I was just going to agree with you about the media narrative, the British media in particular. And again, you made a point earlier on, which is rings bells in my head, because I used to watch a lot of American news as well, and I was fascinated by the format they delivered the news. And I'm talking about Fox News before they took it off air. It was interesting how these people were given status as presenters, as also as newscasters. So every time they had a newscaster on Fox News, it was a presenter's opinion. And that's the way you're getting things like now on GB News, if you can suffer that for more than 3 minutes. It's these presenters who've been drummed up for somewhere else, and they're presenting their narrative as the news. It's not news are presenting, it's their narrative and their perception of it. And that's how they pervert it. And it's so interesting if you can stomach GB News for 5 minutes. All these ex-Sky hacks and BBC hacks that used to kid themselves on as middle-of-the-road presenters, they're now far-right presenters on GB News, Eamon Holmes and all that, and all his Sky News chums. There was one on the other week, they were saying something quite anti-Scottish. I can't mind what it was now. I wish I'd just thought about the point. But he get nailed on it on Twitter, like Ken. He was saying something anti-Scottish, like Ken, and he was proved it was wrong on Twitter, but he basically ignored it, like it. But it just shows you how manipulative and what they really think. You know, they're played to be middle of the road, but so once they're not being paired with that particular mob, they move on to the next mob and they're more extreme, and that generates a living for them. So it just shows you how they manipulate the narrative, and that's what people have got to be wary of and see through.
Saying that. No, I totally agree with you. Totally agree.
Right, I'm going to ask you. Oh, sorry. Go, you go, Robert.
No, I'm just going to say the thing about GB News and like Fox News and these right-wing channels. I mean, you don't have to watch them, but I think if you believe in free speech, it's not just the speech you want to hear. You have to listen to these other voices. So yeah, they're despicable. I mean, you can tell the narrative right away. I don't agree with it, but I defend the right to be able to say it. You know, I think that's free speech. Free speech. You know.
There was a classic one, I just remember from BBC the other week, Naga Manchetti, who's got forum for doing this. She was speaking to the Welsh First Minister. I don't know if you've seen the clip.
I didn't.
And he basically, he was basically interviewing the Welsh First Minister about restrictions for COVID and such like. And the Welsh First Minister was on his game, the man. He was top notch, basically, saying, he was basically saying that why wasn't Wales following England's lead sort of thing? And he basically put it in place and said, well, that's the English government. They're out of step with what the Welsh, the Scottish and Irish are doing. We were doing very similar things. So it's not for the people, it's not for us to be out of step. We're following what the scientists tell us, but the English government's doing what the English want to suit themselves. And he put her really in the spot, and it really showed her up for what she was, as trying to say that how dare the Dominions do something different for what the Centre's doing. And he really put her in the place. So it just shows you what these people are like. And you can actually almost taste the disdain for what she had for him, because he was representing Wales and no back in the English/British point of view. She actually had disdain for the man. And that's what's so pathetic about it. It's nasty.
Aye, Mark Drakeford, for anybody who was wondering who the Welsh Prime Minister
Look at it, it's on YouTube.
Aye, it's on YouTube. I'll cut it through. I'll cut it through when I'm doing the edit, mate. I'll cut it through when I'm doing the edit.
I'm sure many people in Wales will be looking to the restrictions that have been eased in England and thinking, why are we not there? Why are we not at that stage if we're hearing a similar message from the UK government that looks after the rules in England, that numbers are coming down, hospital admissions, the pressure is easing on the NHS?
Well, we've always taken a different approach in Wales, one that does things step by step, in line with the science, We're a government that doesn't need to grab headlines to distract attention from the difficulties that we would be in if we were in the same position as the government of England. And I think people in Wales have demonstrated their support for that more cautious, more step-by-step approach, because it has kept Wales safe and it's kept Wales open.
Are you saying that the UK government has lent towards more favourable headlines to save itself rather than follow the science?
Well, absolutely. Don't think there's any doubt at all. The UK government has long abandoned any sense that it is following the science. It is a government desperately emired in difficulties of its own making and is forever on the lookout for a headline that will distract people's attention from the awful mess that it finds itself in.
Do you
right, so as I say, we're almost at an end, Robert, so we want to get back to yourself.
Right, okay.
So, you're elected to office, a councillor for the Alba Party for your area in Coatbridge and all the other areas that you mentioned. What are you putting into play, and what's your area of focus?
My area of focus is just to try and engage the people more. That I think is to talk to them, and when they have got a complaint, a legitimate complaint, I think the biggest problem with talking to folk now is like they don't hear from it. See, like people go and complain to them, and the councillors won't get back. They won't back it up. They won't come back and say it. So primarily for me, that's what I'm going to run on that. I'm going to be like, look, guys, you come to me with a complaint. I'll follow it through and see if I can't fix it. I'll let you know. I'm not going to leave you hanging. I'll let you know what's happening. If I've exhausted every line I can, then you need to take it somewhere else. That's what I'll do. Because I think that's all people are looking for. They're just looking for an answer. Whether or not you can help them, you can't, but at least they know what the score is and you've tried. You know, but for me, and I want to try that. And there's loads of issues, local issues, parking in the street. I mean, like Woodside, if you're down Woodside Street, you know, it's like, and to be fair, the council have tried to fix it down at, there's a Tesco shop, used to be the old Monkland Bar, but Tesco shops there, you know, there's an Azad the Barbers, and there's a tanning place, Toucan Tan. But since you go up the hill as well, there's the shop, again, the Asian shop at the top, and there's 2 or 3 maybe mobile phone shop. They see the amount of cars, you can't get by, you know, something needs to be done, you know, something really needs to be, it's a chokehold, it's a right danger, you know, it is a right danger. So that needs to be fixed, you know, that needs to be something. They have tried, but there's something, they need to do more for that. And especially, you know, like, I see like, people are really complaining about, see like they've cut back on the grass verges, no cutting on, no like, keeping the place neat and tidy, you know, and little things like that. See like road sweeper, I couldn't tell you the last time I've seen a road sweeper. You know, things like that, keep the streets clean and tidy. If you come in, it's like, get into your house, see if your house is tidy, you feel better automatically. Same with your area. If you walk into your area and it's clean, it's tidy, you know, you're going the right way, you feel better about it. But if it's sitting there and there's broken bottles and there's stuff lying there, fly tipping, no, that's not, that for me, that would be the big thing. Try and make the place look as best as it can. You know,
right, the one thing I'm going to ask is, there's been the school sex survey, the child sex survey, or whatever you want to call it, has been a big thing. Now, if that fell upon your duties, would you withhold that for schools until such time as professional bodies will listen to? Definitely.
100%. You know, I don't know. I mean, why are we just accepting this? That should be out to consultation, whatever was put in. You know, you can't just make it up and let it go. I mean, some of the questions were shocking. You know what I mean? Aye. And the thing is, what I heard, listen, I'm not 100% up on it, but I don't think it was you could identify the people that were, you know, that were filling it out. You know what I mean? Again, it could have been got, you know, that's just not right. Anyway, the thing for me is the MPs themselves, the MSPs, they wouldn't answer it, but they're wanting kids to answer it. No, I think, yes, we need to move forward. Everybody, and as in everything in life, you have to move forward. You have to move forward. So maybe you have to find out, current trends with kids and all that. But the questions, you know what I mean? That should be put in. There should be a lot more subtle, should I say, you know, rather than coming out with that. You know, I totally disagree with it. So
well, that's pretty much that ties everything up for this evening. Have you got a final message you want to put in, Robert, before we say good night?
Vote Alba in May, and I'll tell you what. You want independence, vote Alba in May. And all I want to say is that to all the rank and file in the SNP, the grassroots ones, we're not your enemy. We're certainly not your enemy. We came from you. I campaigned for your MP, your MSP. I went to all the meetings. I've been to the conferences, done all that. You know what I mean? So if you want to have a fight with me for Somebody tried to say I was actually a unionist, and that's what they're saying. You're going, oh, come on a minute, I can show you what I've done. What have you done? So then you joined the party maybe 4 years ago. You know what I mean? Come on. No, that's it. That's the thing. For me, let's work together. You know what I mean? So in May, vote independence. Vote for Alba first. But if you want, vote independence.
Brilliant, Robert. John, have you got a message to say for good night, mate?
Yeah, no, I wish Robert all the luck. It's been a pleasure speaking to you, and I wish you all the luck in the world, mate. We'll keep an eye on how you do.
Cheers, John.
Very positive.
Cheers. Appreciate it.
I'm going to echo that, Robert. I'm going to say good luck. We'll be rooting for you. I'll be trying to sell the message every time I run a podcast for the local elections. Vote Alba and get the independence train back on the tracks, because we seem to be derailed at the minute. So from Tweet Street Scotland, for Robert Slavin, for John JB Whitesnake, I'm going to say good night and have a good evening.
Good night.
Cheers. Bye bye.